They say April is the cruelest month, but Ramadan is worse. It doesn't come round till March this year, and then we'll need a hearse. Because jihad ain't what they say it is. It's really a global curse. And that's why we're here, ladies and gentlemen, with another thrilling episode of This Week in Jihad with the one and only, the master of disaster, David Wood himself, the scourge of Islamic apologists everywhere. David, good evening.
Yeah, I would just like to issue this as a challenge. I challenge all 1.6 billion Muslims in the world to come up with poems as great as Robert's. And if you can't, then you have to admit that everything he says is true, and you have to mindlessly accept anything he says, no matter how ridiculous, for the rest of your lives. And little side note on this contest: not only do you have to come up with something as good as Robert's poems, I'm going to judge the contest. Now, notice, Robert, you're laughing at this. Any person in the world would laugh at that, and yet that's the main argument for Islam, right?
That's it.
If you don't believe in Muhammad, then come up with something like his chapters of the Quran. And if you can't, you have to admit that it's from God. Oh, by the way, we're going to judge the contest.
It wouldn't really be hard at all. I miss surahlikeit.com. You know, that used to be such a great site. And they had all the surahs like it that everyone had produced.
Oh, I probably shouldn't be blabbing this, but you know Brother Rashid, right?
Sure.
Yeah, brother Rashid knows a guy who's a former imam, but he's now an atheist, and he does the Quran recitations, and we're having him make some recitations of the actual Quran, and then of Ubay ibn Ka'b's lost surahs of the Quran. So the Surah 115 and Surah 116, which Ubay ibn Ka'b said are supposed to be in the Quran but are not in the Quran. And some imitations. Specifically, Rashid has a passage where an actual Arab medical doctor rewrote the stuff about the embryology stuff in the Quran to make it scientifically accurate, but he wrote it in the same style of the Quran. And then, so we're going to have a Quran reciter recite all of these so that we can actually put the challenge out there to people. Show us which one of these is better. And anyway, I think it's going to be a problem for the Quran, because even Muslims who say, no, we're the judges, they're going to have to explain why this is better than that, and so on.
It's a beautiful thing.
And by the way, we've talked about this challenge this challenge before, and how silly it is. Even like the satanic verses. According to the satanic verses, Satan can imitate the Quran so perfectly that it fools even Muhammad himself and all of his companions. Even if the verses are promoting polytheism, Muhammad can't tell the difference. He just delivers them.
It's a surah like it.
Surah like it. Awesome stuff. Ooh, I got to add that to the list. We want the satanic verses recited with Alat, Alus, and Manat. We want that professionally recited, so we can see. Yeah, so we'll hear it, and we'll be like, wow, no wonder Muhammad fell for that. Those verses promoting prayer to pagan goddesses. It's so beautiful. It's so beautifully spoken.
Yes. Surah like it or not.
That's what you need. That's the site you need. Surah like it or not.
Yes. That's the Quran, actually. Because
like it or not.
Yeah.
Muhammad's Believe It or Don't.
Exactly. Great comic book. Is that still online, David? I haven't seen that in years.
I'm sure it's somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. Used to be floating around everywhere, but that was, of course, 15 years ago now? Maybe more. Anyway, okay. Same old thing as always, David. The jihad really doesn't change. So shall we start off with the stupid infidels? Actually, no, wait. I've got to start with the Taliban in desk jobs. Did you see that story?
Not at all. I'm hearing,
oh man,
this is the first I've heard about it.
Very, very funny story. Unintentionally funny. coming out of the Afghanistan Analysts Network. They did an interview with a bunch of Taliban jihadis who they work in Kabul now, and they have to, okay, like this guy, he says, these days you have to go to the office before 8 a.m. and stay there till 4 p.m. If you don't, you're considered absent, and the wage for that day is cut off from your salary. I miss the days of jihad. And I thought...
Just wake up in the afternoon, go slaughter some unbelievers in the name of Allah, take a few captives, rape them,
There's another
go back,
thing.
take a nap, get up, kill some more people.
And it also occurred to me that all these guys whining about having to go sit behind desks and missing the jihad, not one of them, and there are quite a few guys interviewed in this story, not one of them, David, says, but of course, now my jihad is getting to the office on time and finishing my bureaucratic tasks. None of them seem to have gotten the memo from the Council on American Islamic Relations.
Yeah, you'd figure, like, why are we the targets of all the claims about reinterpreting jihad, right? Like why are people with the Council on American Islamic Relations focused on just convincing us? They never seem to want to convince the actual jihadis that they're wrong about jihad. It's always us. It's always the people on the receiving end of jihad, not the people on the giving end of jihad.
Very telling, yes. So we
Very
have
weird.
no, as Harbi Kafir says, we have no desk jihad.
Yeah, but that's weird, isn't it? Like, I mean, it's almost like groups like CARE don't really care about unbelievers being slaughtered in the name of Allah. It's almost like they're just like running interference from keeping people talking about. I don't know. I can't go that far. That would be like a conspiracy or something.
Inconceivable. All right, another story. We'll start off with well, we didn't start off, did we? But we're still early on in the proceedings this week, and we've got a horror story, David. Are you ready? I don't know. I don't want to give you nightmares.
I don't know. I chicken out pretty easily, but we'll go ahead.
This is bad. This is very bad. This is maybe one of the worst stories that we have ever reported on in This Week in Jihad. And so I hope you're steeled. All right, this comes out of the UK. I can barely stand even to tell you.
My heart rate is like 500 beats per minute right now.
David, a Muslim family ordered pizza and got pepperoni.
Oh, whoa. I'll tell you what, we're going to need some rioting in the streets or something. But I mean,
Yes.
At the very least, this company needs to be humiliated, shamed, called Islamophobic, probably sued. But yeah, something's got to be done.
Yeah. Well, this is, of course, the famed international chain Pizza Hut. And, well, I don't know why somebody would want to call them and order a pizza, but they did. And so they wanted delivery, but it got complicated. All right? Mahtab Alam. He calls up Pizza Hut. It's his son's birthday, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Son's birthday, let's get pizza. Okay, so they order 3 pizzas for 30 pounds. 30 pounds of what? Anyway, they order 3 pizzas. 1 margarita and 2 vegetarian sizzler pizzas. That sounds very, very severe. And
It sounds disgusting.
and the newspaper assures us they've seen the receipts. Okay, so this all checks out.
Okay, so there's an investigation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a
Awesome.
very
Journalists are on the case, not on the case of grooming gangs and stuff like that, but Pizzagate. This is the new Pizzagate, I guess.
Yes, indeed. So, in the first place, there's a little bit of Islamophobia because they ordered the pizza at 6:30, and even though they're only 10 minutes away, they only live 10 minutes away from the Pizza Hut. It wasn't delivered till 7:40.
That's obviously an
Clearly
Islamophobic attack.
Islamophobic.
Yeah. That's every bit as bad as 9/11, if you ask me. But yeah, go ahead.
It gets even weirder. It's just a weird story, David. Mahtab the loving father who's gotten these pizzas for his son's birthday, he's tired of waiting. So he goes to the store to pick up his order, but they tell him it's already out for delivery. So he goes back home, and it's there. And he's so hungry, Maktab Alam is so hungry when he gets home that he immediately wolfs down 2 slices.
Doesn't look what's on it, though.
Right. Doesn't he? And he doesn't even notice. He's so hungry.
I do that too.
He doesn't even notice that this is not just vegetarian stuff on his pizza, but pork.
I mean,
he doesn't even notice.
I can't tell the difference between green peppers and sausage, pepperoni, and any of that stuff either. It's all exactly the same.
Yeah. Now it's funny because some Muslims will tell you that they ate pork accidentally and then they start vomiting. It's just so disgusting, so horrible to them. But this guy,
I ate pork and now I'm addicted to it. I can't stop.
Yeah, he eats a slice and it's so great. Hey, this is good. This is fantastic. There's something about this. Wolf's down another. Finally, his wife points out, honey, this is not the veggie pizza we ordered. It's full of chicken. It's full of beef. It's full of bacon. It's a veritable meat feast, ladies and gentlemen. And so, Mahtab Alam, get this. He says, being a Muslim, consuming pork is one of the worst sins you can commit. Okay? And then he says, we have no space for forgiveness. And now we feel violated. And I think, well, now Mahtab, you have just confirmed what multitudes of Christian apologists have pointed out over the years, that Islam has no forgiveness, no redemption. All you can do is just try to outweigh all your sins by doing some great deed for Allah, which is why many jihadis go on jihad. And so who knows, this pizza could lead to jihad violence because he has no room for forgiveness.
Yeah, there are all kinds of possibilities here. So, I mean, on the one hand, he might, since he's got a taste for it, it's like when an animal takes a bite out of a human and then gets a taste for human blood, right? And then it just has to have more. I mean, he might need to have more. He might even apostatize, and if he apostatizes because he likes the pork so much, the bacon so much, then his whole life's in danger, and everyone around him is in danger. So there's that possibility. Then there's the possibility that as you've pointed out, that there's no forgiveness. Except for one guarantee, if he goes on a slaughtering spree, slaughtering unbelievers in the name of Allah, and whose fault will that be? Pizza Huts. Pizza Huts. So they'll be responsible for all the terrorism and jihad. I have to correct him though. I mean, if he is a Sunni Muslim, there is forgiveness because Muhammad said in multiple passages in Sahih Muslim and 110 Ahadith Qudsi that if you've committed sins, even as heavy as a mountain, you don't have to worry because Allah will just punish Jews and Christians for those sins. Allah will have the angels lift the sins of, in this case, eating a bunch of bacon, off your back, put those sins on Jews and Christians, and Jews are not going to like having to pay that penalty, may I add. And he'll punish he'll punish those Jews and Christians for things they didn't do so that you can go to paradise and get all your virgins. And you Muslims who are watching, I'm sure you've never heard this, but your prophet said it. Sahih Muslim and 110 Ahadith Qudsi, Allah will punish Jews and Christians for your sins if you need forgiveness. So no one's obviously told him that. Someone needs to tell him that before he goes on a killing spree to get forgiveness.
Indeed. He also said, this guy, this guy's a quote mine, this Mahtab Alam, the kind of blunder they made by serving a non-vegetarian pizza with pork to a Muslim family is morally and ethically wrong. And he could have just added right there, cha-ching. Anyway, they have contaminated our family and our house. So for that contamination, we know Pizza Hut is going to pay dearly.
Oh yeah, and they're gonna have to go on a forgiveness spree
Hmm.
to do something. But I mean, but no, I mean, notice all the ridiculous problems that arise. First of all, has anyone in the chat who's ever ordered pizza in your life ever not had an order mix up at some point from pizza delivery people? They go out, they're delivering three or four, they're delivering three or four orders and they mix one up. So there's that. But on the other side, I mean, notice, I mean, when you're ordering this vegetarian pizza, do you really think that they're not cooking in the same spot where they're cooking pork, and that the pork is touching everything? I mean, Muhammad had rules about that, about using vessels from people of other religions and so on. So, I mean, if you don't care enough, I mean, in other words, if you're saying, hey, yeah, cook up those vegetables on the same thing, you're cooking all that pork, you're getting some pork already. You're already getting pork, ladies and gentlemen. You're already getting pork. Just little tiny amounts. So you just got a little more than you bargained for.
My goodness, it's just a spiraling nightmare. All right.
Someone, David YouTube here said, I've never gotten an order right.
Wow. There you go.
I've had that. Yeah, we order pizza and they probably get the order right maybe between a half and 2/3 of the time. Other than that, there's always something wrong. But I'm
Well, I
not going
can
to
recommend our local delivery then, David, because they very rarely get the order wrong. But it has happened, and I know it's just because I'm Islamophobic.
It is.
Anyway,
They're out to get you.
that's why it is. Stupid infidels. Let's see. We have in Norway of course, our friend. Actually, I don't know the man, and I shouldn't say that because people will think that I do. But anyway, Rasmus Paludan, the famed burner of the Quran, and once again, I have to say, I'm not really a fan of burning books, but I understand that when people are telling you we're going to kill you if you burn the book, that it's an important defense of the freedom of expression, just like we had our Muhammad cartoon contest in Texas in 2015 for the same reason. So anyway, he's going around burning the Quran all over the place, and he was going to do it.
One second, because I'm confused here. So you said Norway. Where's this guy actually from? Because I was hearing
He's
Norway.
from
I was hearing
Denmark.
Sweden.
No,
okay,
he's from Denmark.
He actually travels around Scandinavia doing
right.
that.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
He's from Denmark. He did it initially in Sweden. They allowed it in Sweden. He's done it a few other places now, and he went to Norway to do it there, and they banned it. The police banned it after the Turkish Foreign Ministry summoned the Norwegian ambassador to complain. And so I think this is a dangerous precedent because the Western authorities are giving the impression to people like the Turkish Foreign Ministry and others that they can get what they want by violent intimidation and demand that the West adopt Sharia on the basis of violent threats. And here we are.
And this wild, like I'm 1/4 Norwegian. My grandma was Norwegian, and she had like statues of Vikings all over her house, and was very proud of the Viking heritage. And now the Norwegians are like the biggest pansies in the world. It's like what happened? Did all the tough people go out and die in battle or something? What happened to them?
You know, I don't really understand that about Norway because actually Norway was occupied by the Nazis during World War II, and there were battles there, and so you would think that, I mean, that's not all that long ago. I mean, I'm thinking about that in comparison to Iceland. I spoke in Iceland in 2017, was poisoned by one of the wonderful people there, and while I was there, this one guy who was involved in the group that had brought me there, actually said, you know, I'm very worried about the future of the country because we haven't had to fight for 1,000 years. And nobody knows what it's like to be in a war or be in civil strife and conflict. And I can understand that about them there, but Norway's another matter. Anyway, in Britain, there's some very interesting stuff going on regarding the Prevent program. The
One second before I
Yes, sir.
forget, because as you pointed out, these are things that can play out. That Norway just sent a message. Norway just sent a very loud message about how you get what you want. So we need to monitor that for the future, because I'm guessing the next time someone is going to hurt some feelings in Norway, going to be a big backlash against that, because they know, aha, these people will back down.
Indeed. And so the bigger the fuss they make, then they know they can get the results.
Yeah, and notice, because this seems insanely obvious to us. The way to get them to stop being violent is to do the opposite of what they demand through violence, right? So in other words, if someone says, we're going to have a violent riot over this Quran burning, they say, okay, we're going to have 100 Quran burnings then. We don't want to. We don't want to. Most of us think that that's insane and idiotic. Otherwise, apart from you threatening to kill people over it. But if you do, if you go on a violent spree and start burning cars and stuff like that, we'll burn 100. If you get violent over that, we'll burn 10,000. We're just gonna keep upping it until you realize that violence is not the way to get what you want. Instead, it's you're getting violent and burning cars and stuff over this. Well, tell us your list of demands and we'll do what you want.
Yeah,
It's insane.
Human nature is very strange, David. I once had a friend who was so disgusted about the Muhammad cartoon riots that he said, I'm going to go on YouTube and burn a Quran every day. And every day I'll do it and make a different video. This is, of course, many years ago, before YouTube got quite as censorious as it is now. And he never did it, though. And then when I did the Muhammad cartoon contest, he was appalled and said, I can't believe you did that. And I thought,
shame on you.
Yeah, wait a minute. Something doesn't compute here. But anyway, that's the way human beings are. In Britain, we have the Prevent program. It's been in place for years. It's a silly, politically correct program that is designed to prevent terrorism by, in part, by teaching Muslims the true peaceful Islam. And so it's based on falsehoods to start with, and denies the true derivation of jihad violence. And now there has been a comprehensive report on it made, and the report says that part of its failure is that it has been treating jihad as mental illness and not dealing with it as an ideology.
Where'd they get that idea?
Yeah, I think, wait a minute, is somebody secretly reading Jihad Watch over there, or watching David Wood videos, or who knows what? But it's funny because, of course, this is exactly what we've been saying for years, and now, in response, of course, the same thing is happening, because Muslim organizations in Britain are saying, oh no, this report on Prevent is Islamophobic, and it's better just to shut the whole thing down, rather than recast it as being actually anti-jihad. And so I don't think Britain's going to get any better on this.
No, but I mean, as you say, we've been talking about this for a while. How obvious is this? They keep saying Islam's a religion of peace. It's as clear as day. If anyone kills a man, it's as if he's killed all mankind. There's no compulsion in religion. There's no way you could get violence out of this unless you're insane. And therefore, when anyone goes out and says, Allahu Akbar, I'm slaughtering these unbelievers in the name of Allah, ha 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 ha, and here's why I'm doing it, and here are the passages, well, he must be insane, because the only person who could conclude violence out of that book would be an insane person. And so they treat it like a mental illness, and then it doesn't work, because these guys aren't getting it because of their mental illness. They're getting it from reading their sources and from from their sheikhs and imams who are proclaiming this stuff, and even from YouTube and Twitter, where the Dawagandists are proclaiming jihad quite openly. And so it doesn't work. Their programs don't work. And then when it's, hey, we need to treat this as an ideology, because even if you wanted to say it's not true Islam, it's still an ideology that you need to really go through and show people how they're completely misunderstanding the clearest commands in the Quran and Hadith. Fight those who do not believe in Allah. You have to go through and explain what those actually mean. But notice, even that you're dealing with an ideology, but they're not, because now it's a mental illness, and they're finding out from the Muslim community, I guess, that either treat it like a mental illness, in which case Islam can never be blamed, or shut the whole thing down.
That's it. That's all they've got.
Wow, 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 wow.
Okay, the other big news this week after Pizzagate and Prevent is Salman Rushdie has broken his silence after he was stabbed 15 times by a jihadi in August 2022. And pictures were released of him. He has lost 40 pounds. He has lost the use of his right eye. As David said on Twitter, he has gone full Dajjal.
He's going
And
full Dajjal. I was actually really glad to see him because we went so long without hearing anything from him that I started thinking like maybe they're not letting on how bad
yes.
things are. Like maybe he's in a coma or something like that. Or so it's actually good that he posted a picture and looks. I think see, we recorded you as Salman Rushdie, which I'll probably release that next week. But didn't we get the wrong eye? Because we had to guess. We didn't know which eye.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah, we got the wrong eye.
We eventually covered one of your eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we covered the wrong one, so our bad.
Oh well, Salman
Yeah.
is maybe he'll put out a fatwa on us.
Yeah, if he complains, we'll say, be happy to record one with him.
Yes, but anyway, why am I bringing up Salman Rushdie in connection with Stupid Infidels? Because of the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail is a paper in Britain, and it is the most irritating and maddening paper maybe on the planet. It really bugs me personally, David, and I'll tell you, it's because in the first place, the Daily Mail is one of the best papers in the Western world for coverage of individual jihad attacks. But when it comes to explaining what the ideology is behind those attacks, then the Daily Mail is not only all wrong, like every other paper in the world, but is aggressively wrong, aggressively false, and often defamatory against defenders of freedom, against jihad. But anyway, in talking about Rushdie, big lavish piece, pictures of Rushdie, he breaks his silence, he talks about how he's doing, etc., 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 and then it says, Hadi Matar, the man who stabbed him, his motives are unclear.
Maybe got a bad pizza.
Nobody's motives are clearer in the entire history of stabbings than Hadi Matar's.
Correct.
There is nobody that we can be surer of as to why he did it. Hadi Matar said that he did not like Salman Rushdie because Salman Rushdie had insulted Islam. Hadi Matar said that he admired the Ayatollah Khomeini, who had issued the fatwa saying that Rushdie should be killed for the satanic verses. It's absolutely clear why he stabbed Rushdie. And the Daily Mail, which I often call the worst paper in the Western world because of things like this, says his motives are unclear. That is, I believe, a dereliction of their public duty to actually report the news. It's actively counterproductive.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible. I mean, if I'm some sort of enforcer and you order me, promise me a reward for going and do something, and then I say, okay, I'll do it because you're my hero, and then I go and do it, and then I explain why I'm doing it, and then you say, we have no clue why this guy did anything. That's anyway. That's
it, man.
It's not just the Daily Mail. That's like journalism today in a nutshell.
Yes, it's just that I saw this as a particular example, and so that's why the Mail's in for it tonight. Also, we have in Germany Norddeutscher Rundfunk, which is the public broadcaster. Norddeutscher Rundfunk. And sorry, German sometimes just gets to me, you know.
It is really funny sounding, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what they.
Yeah,
They sound like.
I just actually watched the other night Charlie Chaplin's classic movie, The Great Dictator, where he brilliantly lampoons Hitler, and he does exactly what you were just doing there, and does this fake German that with Hitler's ranting. It's marvelous. I think all of you, if you haven't seen The Great Dictator, you really should see it. Great movie.
I still haven't. I've never seen a Chaplin movie. That's.
Oh, you got it.
I'll watch that one.
Oh yeah. Anyway, the Norddeutsche Rundfunk. There were 2 teenagers killed and several more injured in a knife attack committed by a stateless Palestinian, that is a Muslim migrant, an asylum seeker who had lived in Germany since 2014. Ibrahim A. didn't speak German, stabbed 2 people at random on the train, and the Norddeutsche Rundfunk is under fire now, actually, for avoiding, quite deliberately, giving any detail of the case that would have given anybody the impression that it was Muslims or migrants who did that. They very much want to keep people from being angry about the massive influx of Muslims into the country, and they do it by not telling people the full truth about crimes committed by them.
And notice the hypocrisy, because they'll blame British people in a heartbeat for a knife, like they'll make songs about it. You remember the song "Mac the Knife"?
Yep.
That was actually they made a cute American version, but the German version was about the British people, and it's und
Really?
der Haifisch mit der Zähne und sie trägt im Gesicht.
This is great. David Wood performs the Threepenny Opera.
Yeah, and then it's und Machit der hat ein Messer, doch das Messer sieht man nicht. The Germans who are watching will appreciate that. I don't even know if they're familiar with that song anymore, but
yeah. For the best rendition of Mac the Knife, ladies and gentlemen, consult the great Sonny Rollins album Saxophone Colossus. You will not find a better rendition of it than that. Saxophone Colossus, Sonny Rollins. Anyway, get to some jihad in the United States, shall we? We don't often hear about jihad in the United States, but in Ohio, we had a young man named Nasser al-Madawji. Al-Madawji. He was born in Iraq, became a U.S. citizen, and he planned to sneak into Afghanistan, which is kind of interesting because a lot of people trying to sneak out of there. But anyway, sneak into Afghanistan and join ISIS, or as it's called, ISIS-K, the Islamic State Khorasan province. And he wanted to get military training from them, learn how to make a car bomb, kidnap tips, and break into homes. He would learn all that and come to the United States and go on a jihad spree. Nasser al-Madawji, but he was caught, and thus one bullet was dodged. Meanwhile, we have another kind of curious case out of New York City. Victoria...
New York City?
New York City!
New York City?
Of all places. I mean, Ohio, sure. Rivka Barry was from Ohio. We know that's a hotbed. But New York City, why, it's unprecedented. In New York City, Victoria Jacobs, also known as Bahram Talipov. I don't understand that. It doesn't explain it in the news story. How is it that you have this woman named Victoria Jacobs, a.k.a. Bahram Talipov? But anyway, used cryptocurrency to provide financial support to jihad terror groups in Syria. And then there's the case, and this is a very strange case, David. Did you hear about Ruslan Muradovich Asainov?
I did not.
Ruslan Muradovich Asainov was actually a stockbroker on Wall Street. Another New York City story. He was from Kazakhstan, but according to the news story, he was not a Muslim. He converted to Islam. Now, Kazakhstan is nearly 70% Muslim. That means, obviously, that there are 30% of the people who aren't Muslim, and apparently Ruslan Maratovich Asainov was one of them, but he converted to Islam in New York City. And according to his now ex-wife, he says that when he converted, he began to watch a lot of online sermons of jihad preachers. He began to get very fanatical. Ultimately, he left his family. He had a little daughter who's a toddler. And although he had doted on her before, he abruptly left, made his way to Syria, joined the Islamic State, and became a sniper for the Islamic State, for ISIS. And he was very proud of this. He actually left his ex-wife voicemails from Syria. One of them, he says, "Have you heard of Islamic State? Right, ISIS. Do you watch news on TV? That's where I'm located. I am one of its fighters. We are the worst terrorist organization in the world that ever existed." And to his old friends in New York from his stockbroker days, he sent pictures of himself in wearing camouflage and holding a rifle over the dead bodies of people he had killed. He sent another one a list of prominent battles in which he said he had fought, and he asked for money because he said he needed a night scope for his rifle. He called his mom, David. He called his mother.
Can I get a night scope? Ma, can you send me a night scope for Christmas? I mean Ramadan.
He says, no, he says that her son doesn't exist anymore. He called her up to tell her that. He was now a mujahid who fought and killed on divine command, didn't regret it, and would be fighting until the end. And he said, "I will never change this path, even if they give me freedom 1,000 times. Do you understand?" His mom's response is not recorded in the story, but I thought that's interesting. Do you understand? That's exactly what he should have asked the American authorities, and if they'd been honest, they would have had to say, "No, we have no clue. Yeah. It's a religion of peace."
Yeah, journalists would say, he's obviously snapped because couldn't be sane with it. But why brag about being the worst terrorist organization? Wouldn't you want to be the best?
I think that's what he meant. Like, they're so bad.
No, I know.
They are
so
bad.
There's that. Another problem with this story that you just told is I remember hearing years ago that jihad is the fault of poverty. That people are in poverty and therefore they turn to jihad because there's no other way out. But this guy's a stockbroker. Maybe not being a good enough stockbroker is a cause of jihad. And the other problem is
he ordered pizza.
It must have been. He got, yeah. And you know, he couldn't resist the great New York pizza, and then they messed up his order. But the other thing is, Kazakhstan. It's in their theme song. It's the greatest country in the world.
Though the worst.
Kazakhstan is the greatest country in the world. All the other countries are run by little girls.
Is that guy? Borat?
That's Borat. Yeah.
Yeah,
that was Borat. Oh, quick comment here. JD said, "You must do Hitler meets Muhammad in the Boom Boom Room." Yeah. AP, the apostate prophet, already said he wants to play Hitler in the Boom Boom Room. I asked him if he could do a Hitler impression, and he said he's been doing a Hitler impression his entire life. So that's he grew up in Germany. Probably sounds like he grew up making fun of Hitler or something. So
okay, I look forward to seeing that one. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation is very angry, and they want the West to adopt what they call severe countermeasures over the burning of the Quran. Every time there is the...
You said they were mad, and I was like, aha, finally they're mad about terrorism. They're mad about what's going on in Iran with all these women being raped and killed. They're finally mad about the grooming gangs. But nope, it's Quran burning. Wow.
Yep. Every time these things happen, the OIC uses it to push for Sharia blasphemy laws. And the West doesn't really understand that that's what's going on. That what we have here is an attempt by Sharia entities to intimidate the West into adopting Sharia restrictions on speech. And the problem is that Westerners are so susceptible to this kind of appeal. All right, we have a kind of strange low-level jihad in France, but I thought I'd mention it. Couple of guys in France, and they set fire to a garbage can. They've got knives, but they don't stab anybody, but they were screaming. What do you think they were yelling, David?
Allahu Akbar against the garbage can.
Yes. They went jihad against the garbage can. The cops came, they arrested them. I don't know what they were up to. It's a very strange story.
I do. It's pretty obvious. You know, something got lost in translation about something being the worst of creatures or something like that. And these people, their mom told them, these people are garbage, and then they decided to wage jihad on garbage.
Oh, okay.
Something along those lines.
Okay. I believe it. All right, what do we have here? I had some others queued up. I tell you, every week, David, I do a different organization, hoping to find one that actually works, and never have done so yet.
You don't have to tell me. I mean, if it's more than like 3 or 4 tabs, it gets pretty confusing real quickly.
Oh yeah. Okay, we have in Britain an asylum seeker from Iran, Shaheen Darvish Narenjban. And he was taken in by an 87-year-old woman named Brenda Blaney. And where did he stab her, David?
I'll go with old lady's neck for 200.
Old lady's neck for 200 is correct. He stabbed her in the throat, slit her throat, killed her, and he has been diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic, so he will not be prosecuted. Because everybody knows that it's only madness that would lead somebody to do such a thing.
So that British organization was correct. It's all about being crazy.
That is correct.
Sudden jihad syndrome.
Yep. Oh, speaking of Islamo-pandering, David, and ignoring the reality of jihad and pretending it's something else, Pakistan has followed up charging me with blasphemy last week with banning all of Wikipedia this week. And I looked around. They have an entry on Muhammad cartoons on Wikipedia, but they're about this big. You really have to work hard to get offended. They're too small to see. But anyway, it's there, and so Wikipedia, as woke as it is, has been banned by Pakistan.
I think I saw today that got overruled or overturned or something like that. I could be wrong about that. I just saw people tweeting that had been.
Oh, so Wikipedia is back in Pakistan? I'm not sure that's a blessing.
I saw that. I'm not I didn't see it in an actual article. I saw someone tweeting that.
Okay. I'll look into that. We'll be back on that next week, ladies and gentlemen.
Isn't it crazy? Because by the way, way back in the day when you looked up like Muhammad and Aisha and stuff like that, it would cite, like, I'm sure it was citing you, but I mean, I saw me being cited on Muhammad and Aisha and things like that, and linking to articles from Answering Islam and stuff like that. And pretty soon they started scrubbing all that stuff, but wasn't enough. All you could do is praise. Apparently all you could do is just praise Muhammad all day, or
yes. Yeah, that's all. I remember that actually, when people would say, hey, I went and looked at Wikipedia and you were the source, and then they at some point made a decision that was no Islamophobes, so-called, were going to be cited. Anyway, here's a moderate Muslim story out of Russia. Aslanbek Ezhayev, who runs a publishing house called the Ummah Publishing House. And he was a very prominent publisher, large-scale publisher, but he's been listed as a terrorist and has been arrested for sending 34 million rubles, which is $483,200, to ISIS contacts. And also it seems that he has published material such as Bukhari and other hadith collections, which the Russians are now saying are inciting to terror.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, it's wild. It's for me, the main issue is consistency, right? I'm not in favor of banning anything, but when you start saying we're banning, like Canada, we have to ban criticism of this because it could create animosity towards something. Well, great, that we know for a fact the Quran and the Hadith do that all the time. Why is that not banned? It's because they keep creating this system where you've got all these calls for beheading people and striking at their necks and killing apostates and beating women and so on. And all that stuff for some reason gets a free pass. You could do that all day long, even though people are actually killed over that. But if you criticize it, if you say, no, I actually have a problem with that. I think Bukhari and so on, because of these commands to kill people for Allah, lead to violence because they do, and the people who are killing people are citing those sources, and then it's by criticizing that someone could take that as a call to violence, so you have to shut up, but not the people who are calling for jihad. They get the free pass.
I get that every day, David, on Twitter. Somebody says on some news story or other, you just, you pathetic, sad man, you hate Islam. And I think they're all upset with me, but I never see them get upset with ISIS or with whatever the news story is about. It's only the reporting of it that drives them crazy.
Yeah, Robert. I mean, have you ever said, fight those who believe in Allah? You ever said something like that?
Nope.
Have you ever said, if anyone leaves my religion and converts to Islam, strike off his head? You ever said anything like that?
Nary a single time.
Have you ever said something like, I've been commanded to fight people until they say Allah is not God and Muhammad's not his messenger?
Never have said that.
No, but you have all of these commands which are commanding the reverse, killing apostates, killing unbelievers, and so on. And it's free pass for all of that.
It's a mystery. I got another one relating to a lot of the stuff we've discussed here tonight. Ramzan Kadyrov, the leader of Chechnya. And he has...
There's a leader in Chechnya?
Yeah, actually, he's a client of Putin. He's a Muslim. He is very hospitable toward jihadis, but he keeps Chechnya loyal to Russia, not waging jihad for independence, and so Putin is in his corner. And Ramzan Kadyrov has said that he wants to punish Rasmus Paludan, the Quran burner. He says, for me, such provocateurs are the real terrorists from whom a healthy society needs to be freed. So remember, let's keep this in perspective. He's talking about that a guy who burns a book, of which there are billions and billions of copies in the world, is worse than people who actually commit mass murder and kill large numbers of human beings.
Yeah, Wyatt, the guy who his channel is House of Hikmah. AP came up with the little trolley dilemma, where the classic trolley dilemma is something like a trolley's about to run over 4 people or 5 people or something like that, but by diverting it, if you push a lever, you can divert it, and then it will kill one person. And so the situation is like it's meant to make you think about your moral theories and so on, because you'd say, oh, okay, well, if I go that way, in a utilitarian sense, well, if I go that way, it's killing fewer people and therefore it's better. But at the same time, that guy wasn't going to die, and now he's going to die because of your decision and so on. So you get in those. But AP came up with the Islamic version, which a trolley's about to run over 5 people. or you could divert it and it will run over a copy of the Quran. And so he came up with that, and then Wyatt posted it on Twitter, and it was something like, keep in mind, there's a bunch of non-Muslims responding as well, but something like 18% of people said run over the five people and not the copy of the Quran. And that should clue people into what certain people's real values are when they're saying, I would rather 5 people be killed than this book, as you pointed out, of which there are tons and tons and tons and tons of copies, gets run over. And for some reason, it's not a concern to many people.
Indeed. Hey, David, did you hear about Majid Khan? Can you see the pictures? I know I ask you this every week. If I put up a picture, can you see it?
No, we somehow went back to the regular view and not the there's a different view that you clicked on, but I can go over to the YouTube page and see it.
I clicked on something. I ain't changed nothing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We keep changing stuff, and then
yeah, it goes back. I don't remember where it was. Anyway, sorry about that.
I don't see the picture over on YouTube either, though.
Oh, I don't have it up yet because I wanted to see if you could see it.
Well, then I don't know.
This is Majid Khan.
Oh yeah, I see that. See, was it?
Majid Khan was one of the high-level jihadis who was in. Looks like my head is the top of his hairline there. There you go. Majid Khan he was one of the high-level jihadis in Guantanamo. He was there for 20 years. He was involved in a jihad attack in Indonesia. Many people killed, etc., etc. He was freed this past week, and a lot of it was on humanitarian grounds that he claimed mistreatment and so on. And I tell you, the most interesting part of the story, as far as I'm concerned, is that he's claiming mistreatment, and he's had such a terrible time. He's been in Guantanamo. That's Majid Khan in 2018, all right? And here's Majid in 2022.
What?
You see a difference there? Besides that he lost his hair. Am I right? Does he not look like he's gained about 40 pounds in Gitmo?
Yeah, that just proves they're force feeding him.
Yeah, he's a poor guy. Yeah. Probably pepperoni pizza.
Yeah, they made him eat it. Yeah, more torture.
Yes. All right. What else we got? We have, of course, as always, we have the violent jihad attacks every week. We would be remiss to leave them out. Burkina Faso, 28 people killed in 2 separate attacks by jihadis in the northern part of the country. Al-Qaeda and ISIS are both active there. That is near Nigeria. It's all in service of trying to establish a caliphate in West Africa. And then Al-Shabaab is trying to establish one in East Africa. And then you have another group, a separate group called Al-Shabaab as well, in Somalia. Not Somalia, in Mozambique. So that you have Southern Africa, East Africa, and West Africa. And none of them are being significantly challenged by the militaries in the area.
It's pretty bad in the areas where they actually have 2 groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS and so on, because then they compete for it. They compete for attention, yes. Which you get attention like by the more people you slaughter, and so you got all the people who aren't in one group or another. And these guys are trying to impress future recruits so that the future recruits see them and think, wow, they're really slaughtering people in the name of Allah. I want to go with them.
Yep. So it's getting very bad. There, in Bangladesh, there were synchronized attacks on the night of February 4th. 14 Hindu temples attacked, vandalized, the idols broken. 14 separate Hindu temples all destroyed in one night in Bangladesh. This is the sort of thing that we read about in the history of jihad happening, where the idols are destroyed and then the pieces, as we discussed last week, strewn around the entrance to the mosque so that the Muslims will trample upon them. That is Bangladesh right now.
That can't. Side note: that can't be true because I mean I hear from Muslims every day that they respect all religions.
Yes, that's right. Yes, they would never do anything like draw a picture. All right. Meanwhile, also regarding pictures,
The Haram.
yes, Mahmoud al-Zahar, who is a senior official of Hamas, he said that what they really need to deal with these things like cartoonists and Quran burners is an international Islamic court. Now, doesn't that sound like a good idea? He said, I suggest establishing an international Islamic court with the participation of all the judges in the Arab, Islamic, and Western world. This court could confront the crimes that are being committed against Islam and the Muslims, and especially against our Prophet Muhammad, the Quran, and even Allah himself. This way we could draw a line that would deter every criminal. If we would place that criminal who burnt the Holy Quran on trial and issue the verdict that he deserves, execution, or another punishment, that would serve as a deterrent. This would be supported by the judges, the tribunals, as well as the nations. What do you think he's smoking, David?
Yeah, if you had a court like that, then yeah, you might be able to intimidate people. But if you had a sane international court that would punish you for slaughtering people in the name of Allah, then the reverse would be true, and you would stop doing it. So what is all this ifs about? I mean, to be fair, there are nations who would go along with that. Canada and
I thought that was wild, though. Like, does he not realize that we already know what the verdict is?
Yeah.
I know that because I was at the Muhammad cartoon contest that I've got the death penalty. Rasmus Paludan, I'm sure he knows that they want to kill him because he burned the Quran. Does Mahmoud al-Zahar really think that, if we do it, put this guy on trial in a courtroom, then it'll make a difference. Then he won't do it.
And really, I mean, of course he knows it. And think about how stupid these guys are. He knows he's trying to get a reaction to show something about their religion, right? He's trying to show, hey guys, if you did this with, Plato's Republic, zero reaction. If you did it with the Bible, you get some Christians saying, hey, what are you doing? But there's not going to be riots out in the streets. There is precisely one group and one book in the world where it's violence and calls for killing and slaughtering people and completely ignoring everything else that actually matters in the world. And he's trying to expose that, and they're just going along with it. I mean, imagine he went out and burned the Quran and no one cared, and there wasn't a peep out of anyone. He'd look like an idiot. He'd look like an idiot, right? Why are you burning that Quran? Because to show how violent it is. Yeah, but no one paid any attention. No one cares. Instead, it's burn this country to the ground and establish this international court where we can pronounce judgments and kill everyone who blasphemes our God, and down with all of your constitutions and your free speech and all your values. And he's just like, thank you. I'll see you again next week when I do the exact same thing.
Exactly.
And really, I mean, even when he gets shut down, he's exposing the governments that will not stand up for basic Western values.
Indeed he is. There is no doubt about it. Okay, we can wrap up this week with Sheikh Abdullah Faisal, who he's a Muslim cleric and an Islamic State recruiter who was found guilty of terrorist activities in New York City this past week. He called upon Muslims to cut the throats of unbelievers with machetes. Where did he get an idea like that, David?
No clue. Probably you. See, guys, yes. I was on my way to the gym to wage jihad, and I was watching this Robert Spencer guy.
Yep. That's what happened. Poor Sheikh Abdullah Faisal. If you'd only read the Quran.
I was heading to the gym to wage jihad on that squat rack. And then on the way there, I was listening to Robert Spencer.
It's a terrible thing. So anyway, he's been convicted of misunderstanding Islam. And that's where we'll leave it this week. Ladies and gentlemen, may God bless you and keep you safe. Avoid the jihadis. And we will likely be back with more jihad next week. Unless there is massive reform and a massive change, massive repentance in the Islamic world. So watch for that. Thank you very much.